Scientists say that they have found a mysterious chamber hidden deep inside Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza.
For thousands of years, the Great Pyramid guarded a secret chamber that left researchers curious. But now, with the power of artificial intelligence, the mystery has been solved. Using cutting-edge AI scans and data analysis, what researchers uncovered goes far beyond simple architecture. The scans reveal alignments that suggest the chamber's purpose was never what we believed. So what else have the pyramids been hiding from us all this time? Join us as we delve into the details of terrifying discovery. The mystery of the Great Pyramid. Out of the endless desert, under the heavy scorching sun, a giant rose. The Great Pyramid of Giza stood tall, its stones burning with light, its shadow cutting across the sand. People had seen it for thousands of years. Travelers, kings, priests, and explorers all looked up and wondered what secrets it held. The pyramid was not only a tomb, it was a puzzle of stone, a challenge left by the ancient builders. Its sharp angles, long corridors, and heavy chambers were planned with precision. Inside, the known passages led to the king's chamber, the queen's chamber, and the subterranean room carved far below. These were known, but many believed they were not all. Even in old times, whispers spread about hidden rooms. Some said there were corridors where no man had stepped for centuries. Others claimed there were chambers filled with treasures, scrolls of lost knowledge, or traps to punish intruders. Every block of stone looked ordinary, yet behind it could be a new discovery. Explorers risked their lives to look. They drilled, carved, and sent torches into the darkness. Some found strange shafts sealed with stone doors. In one place, a narrow passage ended with a block marked by two small copper handles. It looked like a door never meant to be opened. Behind another shaft, they found red marks drawn by ancient hands. Each discovery only added to the mystery. The deeper they looked, the more questions appeared. In modern times, new tools became available. First came robots, built to crawl into tiny shafts. The Upu-out robot entered a narrow passage, shining its camera into places humans could not reach. It found a sealed block, smooth and strange, as if hiding something. Years later, the Jedi Project sent another robot into a shaft near the Queen's chamber. This machine found a small hidden door decorated with metal fittings. Behind it, cameras caught a glimpse of more stone, another sealed space. Then came scanning from outside. Engineers pointed infrared sensors at the pyramid and measured heat. Some blocks showed odd temperature changes. Then cosmic ray imaging, called muon scanning, was used. Tiny particles from space moved through the pyramid, and detectors caught their paths. This let scientists see through stone without breaking it. What they found shocked the world. In 2017, a group of researchers called Scan Pyramids announced that they had found a big void. It was a large, empty space hidden above the Grand Gallery. No one expected such a cavity. Not that size, not in that place. Was it built for a reason? Was it an accident? The answers were unclear. What was clear was that the pyramid still held secrets. Even after that, no one could say for sure what lay inside. Some thought it was a hidden burial chamber, maybe for the pharaoh himself. Others thought it was just part of the construction, left empty to reduce weight. But the mystery lived on. People looked at the pyramid differently, knowing that even now it was not fully mapped. If there were chambers left unexplored for thousands of years, what might be inside them? As years passed, technology grew stronger. Artificial intelligence began to play a role. Machines could analyze more data than any human. They could take millions of readings from scans, vibrations, and images and find patterns no eye could see. AI could compare ancient maps with modern scans and show where something did not match. It could look at heat patterns, stone density, and radiation trails, and then suggest where a hidden room might be. The pyramid, once studied with ropes and torches, was now being studied with supercomputers. And with this power came new results. AI systems started to mark unusual zones inside the pyramid. Some zones seemed too regular to be natural cracks. They lined up with the geometry of the structure. That suggested design. Design meant purpose, and purpose meant intentionality. The idea that the pyramid still hid dangerous secrets was thrilling and frightening at the same time. Standing before it now, the giant stones looked the same as they did in the days of Pharaoh Khufu, but beneath them, in the heavy darkness, new maps were forming. The AI had begun to see through the rock. What it showed was not empty stone, but hidden spaces, shadows of chambers waiting to be opened. The Great Pyramid had always been a wonder, but now it was a locked door, and modern technology was the key. Yet no one knew if opening that door would bring knowledge or something far more dangerous. Discovery of the hidden chamber. Inside the pyramid, where the air smelled of stone dust and old earth, a group of scientists stood around bright screens, waiting. Wires ran across the ground. Tiny lights blinked from machines that were set up. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the numbers flowing across the monitors. For weeks, the AI system had worked without rest. It read data from sensors hidden in the pyramid. These sensors recorded small vibrations in the stone and also measured radiation particles moving through the structure. All of it was sent to the AI. The program compared every result to thousands of models. It built and rebuilt maps of the pyramid's inside. Most of the time, the system found nothing new, only cracks, gaps, or slight errors. But on this night, the lines on the screen shifted. A cluster of signals rose above the rest. The system's confidence grew higher with each second. Its report was clear. There was a hollow space behind one of the walls, not a crack or a natural cavity, but a space with regular edges. The team moved quickly. A small drilling unit was prepared. It was built to leave only the thinnest mark, a hole no larger than a straw. Through this narrow opening, a probe could be slipped inside. As soon as the drill started, the sound grew sharper as the stone gave way. At last, the drill stopped. The probe, no larger than a finger, slid into the hole. Its camera turned on, sending back a view of pure darkness. For long seconds, the screen showed nothing but black. Then the lights on the probe came on. Stone walls appeared, smooth and close. The chamber was real. The camera's lens adjusted, and the picture became clearer. The space stretched out beyond the hole. It was not wide, but it was long. The ceiling arched low, and the walls stood straight. Dust clung thick on the floor like the air inside had not moved for centuries. The scientists leaned closer. The chamber was bigger than expected. Rough measurements from the probe suggested it was several meters in length, with enough room for people to stand. This was no accident of construction. It was built with intention. The AI analyzed the chamber's dimensions. It highlighted how the walls aligned with known corridors outside. The system suggested that the builders had planned this room from the beginning. Its position was deliberate, hidden between structural layers. The probe pushed forward. Its wheels rolled softly over the floor, stirring dust into clouds. The light passed across marks on the walls, lines carved into stone, symbols faint but clear. Some recognized them immediately. These were not simple tool scratches. They were designed. Near the far side of the chamber stood something else, a block, square and low, shaped carefully. It looked like a platform or container. The probe moved closer, its lens catching the sharp edges. It was made of stone, darker than the walls, smoother than the floor. The block seemed sealed without any opening. Excitement grew. The team zoomed the probe's camera on the sealed block. Small traces of metal glinted faintly along its edge. The AI flagged the anomaly. Metal was rare in such hidden spaces. This meant importance. Perhaps fittings, perhaps containers inside. The numbers on the screen shifted again. Radiation levels inside the chamber were slightly different from the surrounding stone. The AI calculated there was something inside the block. The AI kept working, scanning every frame, until it marked another anomaly. Along one wall, near the ceiling, the stone gave a faint echo. The system read the echo and shaped a new prediction. Another space lay beyond. Not large, but enough to be a corridor. The team stared at the model building itself on the screen. The pyramid's known map appeared first. Then, over it, the AI layered the new discovery. At one end of the chamber was a block or platform. Behind one wall was a possible passage that ran deep. At that point, a debate broke out in whispers. Some wanted to stop. Others pushed to continue, and so they did. The probe adjusted its view, sweeping light across the walls again. The symbols came into focus. They were not simple shapes. Some looked like spirals, others like stars. The AI searched its databases, pulling matches from ancient carvings and other sites. The symbols did not match exactly but were close to ritual markings. The team grew tense. The probe inched closer to the sealed block. The camera caught a faint crack along one corner, just enough to see that the block was not solid all the way through. There was a hollow space inside. The AI updated its model, citing high probability of being a storage container. The scientists knew they had found something far greater than a construction void. Inside was a sealed block, perhaps holding items unknown. The team could feel it in the air, the sense of standing on the edge of something they could not yet explain. The analysis. The chamber was no longer just an empty space on a digital map. The AI began to study every single detail the probe sent back. Its algorithms scanned the void, measured sizes, and compared the shapes on the walls with millions of records stored in its memory. Nothing escaped its focus. The first thing it flagged was the pattern of the carvings. The lines formed sequences, some curved into circles, others stretched into long marks that almost touched each other. The AI highlighted the arrangement and matched them against symbols from other ancient sites. The match was partial, but strong enough to show that these carvings carried meaning. On the walls, clusters of symbols appeared in repeating groups. The AI read them as coded messages, perhaps instructions or warnings. Human eyes saw only strange shapes, but the program broke them down into angles, curves, and patterns. It suggested they followed a rhythm, a deliberate order. The next focus was the sealed block in the center. The probe had circled it, recording images from every side. The block stood firm, smoother than the walls around it. Tiny spots of a different color appeared along its surface, barely visible. The AI magnified the view and saw traces of a metallic compound embedded in the stone. It ran comparisons and concluded that the metal had aged, corroded in patterns that suggested thousands of years of exposure before being locked inside. The program then switched to analyzing the chamber's floor. The dust seemed ordinary at first glance, but the AI detected variations in its texture. Some areas had finer grains, almost like powder, while others carried a thicker, heavier look. It highlighted the paths where the dust had gathered in straight lines. This suggested movement long ago, as if objects or people had once passed through before the chamber was sealed. The ceiling became the next focus. The probe's camera tilted up. The stone surface looked plain, but the AI's light sensors caught faint reflections. These were not natural. Under the layer of stone dust, the ceiling held shiny fragments. The AI enhanced the image. Tiny crystals placed deliberately formed geometric patterns. They seemed to catch and scatter the light. The system marked them as artifacts with unknown purpose, possibly designed to reflect torchlight or channel energy in ways no one fully understood. Attention turned back to the sealed block. Radiation readings from inside the chamber showed small fluctuations. The block itself gave off a slightly different signal than the surrounding stone. It ran simulations, and the results showed a hollow interior. Something rested inside, shielded by layers of stone and metal. The size of the hollow space matched that of a large chest. The crack along one corner of the block was measured, including the depth, the angle, the roughness of the surface. From this, it calculated that the block was not a solid monument, but a container built to protect its contents. The crack suggested that it had been sealed under pressure, then left that way for centuries. The probe's movement also revealed more details on the body of it. Here, there was another cluster of carvings, different from the earlier ones. These marks resembled long vertical lines broken by short dashes. When compared against ancient scripts, the system identified similarities with symbols tied to rituals of protection, possibly meant to guard whatever lay inside the chamber. As the AI gathered more data, it built a three-dimensional model of the chamber. The model showed precise measurements, exact alignments, and hidden details invisible to the naked eye. The sealed block stood at the center like a heart, while the carvings spread outward like veins. The ceiling crystals reflected the light in ways that seemed to connect the entire design. Every part of the chamber had a role. Nothing was random. The AI also uncovered something unexpected. The radiation patterns hinted at a faint source of energy behind the sealed block. It was not powerful, but steady. The program considered the possibilities. It could be a natural mineral, but the shape of the reading suggested a crafted object. For the team, this was alarming. Ancient builders should not have had access to materials that release such signals. Meanwhile, the chamber's location was traced within the pyramid. It discovered that the hidden space lined up with specific stars when viewed from the pyramid's outer passages. This alignment was too precise to be chance. The chamber seemed to serve as a point of connection between the structure and the sky. The sealed block, placed directly in the middle, may have played a role in some forgotten ritual. The deeper they scanned, the more unusual the discoveries became. Small anomalies appeared under the chamber's floor. The program reported hollow points just beneath the surface, as if tiny cavities had been carved deliberately. They were too small for human use, but too perfect to be natural. The AI could not explain their purpose, but it noted that they formed a repeating pattern, stretching across the base like a hidden code. By the end of the probe's run, the AI had built a detailed picture, a sealed block with hollow space inside, carvings that carried messages, a ceiling embedded with crystals to capture light, traces of movement on the dusty floor, radiation readings pointing to an unknown object within, a design connected to the stars above. The chamber was no longer an empty void in stone. It was a structure with every mark and object placed to hide something the builders wanted to keep secret. The unexpected revelations. The chamber was mapped, the carvings noted, and the sealed block measured. But the AI did not stop there. It went deeper, breaking down details invisible to the human eye. As it processed the recordings, it started to detect patterns that unsettled even the scientists watching. The first revelation came from the sound analysis. Every vibration recorded in the chamber was compared to millions of known samples, and the result was unusual. The AI noticed that the echoes from the walls did not behave like ordinary stone. Instead of fading naturally, the echoes bent back in strange rhythms, almost like a voice repeating itself in fragments. The system suggested the chamber had been designed to amplify sound, not to keep it out. This discovery made the room of researchers confused. If sound had been important, it meant the chamber had been used in ways that were not only physical but also spiritual. The second revelation focused on the crystals in the ceiling. Earlier scans had shown they were arranged in geometric patterns, but now the AI pushed further. Using advanced light modeling, it simulated torches being lit inside the chamber. The reflection created not just brightness but shapes, long beams forming star-like figures on the walls. When compared to star maps from ancient skies, these patterns aligned with constellations no longer visible today. The calculation of that design was only accurate for a period more than 4,000 years ago. The third revelation centered on the radiation source behind the sealed block. Earlier, it had been considered a mineral, but when the energy levels were calculated more closely, the signal pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. It was steady, repeating at exact intervals. Minerals did not behave this way. The system labeled it as an unknown device, possibly crafted, still active after thousands of years. The idea that something inside the pyramid could still be generating energy sent a wave of dread through the team. The fourth revelation came from the dust itself. The chemical structure was analyzed. While most of it was ordinary stone powder, tiny fragments carried traces of organic matter. When magnified, these fragments showed structures consistent with human tissue, burnt, hardened by time. The scientists froze when they saw the result. It was estimated that at least 2 different individuals had left these traces, sealed inside the chamber long ago. It suggested they were exposed to fire or heat before being locked away. The fifth revelation was even darker. The AI studied the hollow cavities under the floor, the ones arranged in repeating patterns. It realized they formed a sequence, almost like a code. When translated into sound frequencies, the cavities produced tones, deep, low vibrations. Played together, they created a kind of chant, as if voices from thousands of years ago were speaking again. The conclusion was that the cavities had been carved to preserve a sound that could be triggered when the chamber was entered. The sixth revelation involved the symbols carved into the walls. The AI ran deeper pattern recognition. linking them not only to rituals of protection but also to astronomical cycles. Some of the marks lined up with eclipses, others with phases of the moon. The chamber was not just for hiding an object. It was a place tied to time itself, a clock carved in stone. The sealed block placed at the center was connected to these cycles. The system predicted it had been locked at a moment chosen by the builders to align with the sky. The seventh revelation shocked the group most of all. When comparing the sealed block's measurements with other ancient artifacts, a match was noticed. The size, shape, and even the material composition aligned closely with descriptions of objects found in much later civilizations, objects tied to myths of power and destruction. Somehow, this block inside the pyramid shared its design with artifacts from cultures that had lived thousands of years apart. There was a possibility that the knowledge had been passed down in ways no one could yet explain. The final revelation was hidden in the way the chamber itself was positioned. By mapping its location, the AI found that its axis pointed not only to stars, but also to specific underground lines of energy. These lines matched geological features, fault lines, and magnetic flows under the Earth. The chamber had been placed like a key, resting at the meeting point of natural forces. The sealed block sat right at the center of that crossing, as if meant to trap or focus power that flowed from below. The chamber was no longer just a hidden room inside a pyramid. The AI had exposed its terrifying secrets. Voices preserved in stone, stars mapped into crystals, human remains burned into dust, and an object still alive with energy after thousands of years. The pyramid had been built not only as a tomb or monument, but as a vessel for something that reached beyond human understanding, preserving whatever still lay locked inside the block. The future of archaeology, exploration. News of the hidden chamber spread across the world faster than anyone expected. The first reports came from scientists at the site, but within hours, newspapers, television channels, and online platforms were filled with headlines. People wanted to know what had been found and what it meant for the history of the Great Pyramid. Historians were the first to speak out. Some argued that this was the most important discovery in decades. They pointed to how the chamber's design challenged long-held ideas about Egyptian engineering. Many books had taught that the pyramid was already well understood, mapped, and explained. Now these claims were shaken. Historians warned that the new evidence might force schools and universities to rewrite entire sections of history. Archaeologists reacted with a mixture of excitement and fear. They wanted to study the chamber directly, but the risks were clear. Entering such a sealed space could damage its contents. Dust, heat, and even human breath might destroy fragile traces inside. Some experts insisted that further exploration should remain digital, relying on AI and probes. Others pushed for human entry, arguing that only hands-on study could reveal the full story. Museums around the world quickly became involved. Directors of large collections in Cairo, London, Paris, and New York demanded access to the data. They wanted to compare the findings with artifacts already in their care. Many hinted that the chamber's block and carvings might connect to relics scattered across their galleries. Debates grew heated as each institution hoped to claim a role in the coming research. The public response was even more intense. Millions of people heard about the discoveries from the probe's footage. Social media platforms filled with theories, arguments, and speculation. Some believed the discovery proved that ancient Egyptians had knowledge far beyond their time. Others wondered if the chamber had been sealed to keep something hidden from mankind. Videos, podcasts, and documentaries appeared almost overnight, each with a different version of the story. Governments could not ignore the attention. Egypt's authorities quickly placed new restrictions on the pyramid site. Armed guards were posted, and access was limited to select researchers. Officials announced that all future studies would be conducted under strict supervision. They reminded the world that the pyramid was part of Egypt's heritage and that any discoveries belonged first to the nation itself. Other countries, however, called for international involvement. They argued that the discovery was too important to belong to one group alone. Representatives from UNESCO and cultural organizations suggested forming a joint committee to oversee further exploration. Behind closed doors, diplomats debated how the rights to data, images, and possible artifacts should be shared. The AI team responsible for the discovery faced its own challenges. The program had revealed things no human could detect, but now people questioned how much trust could be placed in its results. Some critics warned that reliance on machines could mislead researchers, turning patterns into false stories. Others argued the opposite, saying that advanced technology was the only way to unlock knowledge buried beyond human reach. This argument became one of the largest debates in the academic world. Meanwhile, plans for future exploration began to take shape. Engineers designed new probes, smaller and stronger than before, capable of traveling deeper into the chamber without harm. Drones with flexible arms were tested, able to collect samples of dust or scrape tiny fragments of the carvings. Some companies even proposed building soft robots that could curl through cracks and return with images from places no human hand could reach. At the same time, scientists started scanning other pyramids with the same technology. If one hidden chamber could be revealed, perhaps there were more. Early surveys suggested anomalies in several other sites, sparking speculation that Egypt's monuments might hold an entire network of sealed rooms, each with its own secrets. The discovery also had a deep effect on the way people thought about ancient civilizations. For years, textbooks had painted Egyptians as skilled builders and religious thinkers, but the new evidence hinted at something far more advanced. The chamber's design, its hidden patterns, and its alignment with the sky suggested a scientific knowledge few had believed possible. Questions grew louder. How did ancient builders learn these methods, and why were they hidden so carefully? Cultural groups around the world responded with their own interpretations. Some connected the news to myths passed down in their traditions, pointing to stories of hidden knowledge, lost powers, and ancient warnings. Others saw the discovery as proof that humanity's past was shared more closely than once believed, with ideas traveling across continents long before modern trade and travel. Religious leaders also reacted. Some called the discovery a reminder of human humility, proof that mysteries still lay beyond modern control. Others urged caution, warning against disturbing what had been sealed for thousands of years. A few even argued that the chamber's findings confirmed old prophecies about hidden knowledge waiting for the right moment to return. Among ordinary people, interest grew into obsession. Tourism requests in Egypt surged, with thousands wanting to see the pyramid where the hidden chamber had been revealed. Bookstores reported a rise in sales of books about ancient Egypt. Television series and films rushed to include references to the discovery. Conspiracy groups thrived, weaving the news into their own stories of lost civilizations and alien visitors. Amid all this, scientists pressed forward. Plans were drawn for a long-term project lasting years. Each stage would involve careful scanning, recording, and analysis. International teams prepared to train new specialists in AI archaeology, a field that had barely existed before. Universities created new courses. Students from around the world applied, eager to be part of what many called a new age of discovery. The hidden chamber had inspired exploration and left the world waiting for the next step inside. Could there be more to learn from these pyramids about ancient Egyptian civilization? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.